Okay, now that all the stage is set, we wanted to support through SOBCon and GMC Mark, because Mark has been a long-term friend of ours, and what he does through his Invisible People TV is pretty extraordinary.
It's not
and
video.
He shoots a lot of video. That's what he does, and the part of it was he shoots a lot of video of homeless folks to illustrate their causes and to support our support of them, and he does it in such a cool way, which we can go into. But he drives a lot, right? You drive a lot. Mark drives a lot, and we thought what a great idea would be to present Mark with something to drive for as long as possible, and through the good efforts of GMC and Connie, we were able to, during SOBCon in Chicago, present Mark with a GMC vehicle for his use for a whole year. And not only that, we recruited Murphy Oil to contribute the gas for an entire year. And I'm sure Mark can tell us about all of his gas station experiences. And then we loaded up the truck with, no, that's not right, with some food, and we got McDonald's gift cards. But it was just an extraordinary, extraordinary thing. And so we thought it would be interesting to talk about, well, it's one thing to talk about what happened, and that was an extraordinary thing. But we wanted to explore a little bit with Connie and for all of us to talk about, well, what does that mean in terms of actual action and what happened after that point? Since now we're about 6 months on, and I thought it would be interesting to talk about that, how that worked relative to GMC and with Mark, and how profit and purpose really merged together for that particular instance. So to do that, we have Angel Djambazov, who basically is the managing editor and owner of RevNews.com, and he's just recently launched RevNews.org, which is for a great site for nonprofits, which focuses on nonprofits, and that's why he's here today. And then Connie Burke, of course, I mentioned, has over 20 years of experience at General Motors, and her career has now evolved to include social media, and has built communities for them, and has been really a large part of what we would call the reinvented GM. So I'd like to introduce to you Angel and Connie.
So I'm going to start off with one quick kind of background question, Connie. So what drew you to the work that Mark was doing with Invisible People?
Well, I was introduced to Mark by someone named Liz Strauss. At the 2010 South by Southwest, she knew what Mark did, what his passion was, and she had us meet. And at the time, he was in a partnership with another auto manufacturer. And I tried to lure him over into the light, away from the dark. And he's a loyal guy, and he said, well, no, I've got to follow through with my commitment here. So I just watched him for a year and paid attention to what he does, and I thought it was incredible. And there's just nobody more genuine and more credible than Mark, because he's been there himself. He travels the country, speaking at events, getting invited to events, but he also partners with services and organizations and agencies to help them find housing for people. And while he's doing that, he gives a voice to people who otherwise don't have one, or lost theirs, or just lost their hope, and he gives them their humanity back, you know, if only momentarily. And he's really out there making a difference. He just blew me away with what he does and the difference he's making, just one person at a time. And it sort of reminded me that, you know, here I work for a company that mass produces vehicles, but we sell them one at a time. And that's how this world works, I think. It's just one-on-one interactions. And there's a ripple effect that grows from there.
So Mark, you know, since Chicago and Chicago SOBCon, you've had this kind of tour across the country for the last 6 months. First, tell us, you know, in terms of what has it been like over the summer, and what has, you know, this vehicle provided you, both, you know, physically and, you know, access-wise?
Well, I'm going to start with results. And we're still like, today was the first day of the U.S. part of it. So just the Canadian side, and a lot of this starts multiplying. So there was a college in Calgary and in Winnipeg that are now offering scholarships to low or no income people, to homeless or at risk of homelessness. What's even cooler is they've got to be using social media to be helping other people. That's part of the criteria to get the scholarship. That's really amazing. But the end result just happened in St. John's, where several mayors around Canada signed a proclamation, and the Canadian Alliance to End Homelessness was created. We have such an organization here in the States, but there was no national support in Canada. So thanks to InvisiblePeople.tv, and thanks to GM, and thanks to Liz, and thanks to all of you, literally thousands of lives will be saved. Now let's go back to today. Today I stopped in to just get an oil change at a GM dealer, and they made $1,000 donation to a local shelter.
That's great.
I mean, that's really cool. And then on top of that, there was media, and even the shelter arranged some. The dealer arranged some of the media, and to me, hey, GM makes a great car. It's not about the car; it's about the relationship. Today, it really showed to me the dream of what a brand cause relationship should be. They've got to sell cars. If they don't sell cars, they can't give $1,000 to a homeless shelter. You know what I mean? And by me being there, we were able to talk about the homeless issues in Bangor, Maine, and be able to bring some focus of what needs to be done in the community. So it really was a win-win.
I think many of us in this room are, blessed, obviously, with, having a home and thinking about these things. When we think about homelessness, oftentimes it's in the abstract. And I think one of the interesting things about this tour that you're doing, Mark, and plus the work, beforehand, was dealing with situations on the ground from, as diverse environments, from really cold environments up in Canada to, I'm sure in the US leg, there'll be some desert cities. And obviously, for example, in the desert cities, I have my background in Phoenix, for example, in the summertime, 107-degree heat, it's really hard to have a tent city or even a place to find shelter. What are some of the stories that you've kind of discovered and kind of, having to go to city, and how's it been different from your past experiences?
Well, the difference between Canada and American homelessness, a couple of things that I really walked into was addiction is so bad, they're drinking hand sanitizer. I mean, if you're so addicted to alcohol that you're drinking hand sanitizer, I mean, it just messes my heart. Just, oh my gosh. And the Aboriginal story. Here's this wonderful culture of beautiful people. It's diverse. There's a lot of different tribes within the Aboriginal culture, but because of the residential school system, the families have been destroyed. And oh my gosh, being able to embrace that conversation in a healthy way and respect the culture was truly an honor. And hopefully there was some serious solutions that will come out of it. I met a man, oh my God, in Yellowknife, an older Aboriginal man, proud, like a good kind of proud. And he told me he cried twice last year because it was so cold sleeping outside. And that's really what homelessness is. I mean, it's absence of choice. Poverty removes choice because anybody would not sleep outside in 50 below weather. And that doesn't even include wind chill. But if you don't have money or a relationship of someplace to stay, you're stuck outside in the cold.
Right. Lack of resources forces you to make choices that you would normally not make. One question for you, Connie. obviously, GM's a step forward, with this effort. Here in Portland, it's a specific culture and mindset, and that culture and mindset, of course, through this country and through in Canada as well, varies. Portland is different than Atlanta, is different than Houston, and locals will have different reactions to the homelessness is a problem, but any other cause marketing, whether it be cancer research or whatever, the different reactions, sympathy or lack of sympathy will change. How is that a challenge, for GM in terms of putting the brand behind such an event?
This is such a human event that's so prevalent. I learned a lot from Mark, and I've learned that on any given night, 650,000 people in this country don't have a place to call home or don't have a door they can lock to protect themselves. And this is heartbreaking too. The average age of a homeless person is 9 in this country. And that's unacceptable. And the more you learn about that, and the more he can raise awareness about that, and if GMC is affiliated with helping him do what he does more effectively, safer, it's an easy thing to get behind. You're making a difference. When you're thinking of something like a big ticket item like a car, it's a huge purchase, probably the second biggest one next to your home. You want to feel good about your purchase, not just for the value and the styling and the quality. You want to feel good about the brand. If you know of a brand that's helping to make a difference, by giving away vehicles, you don't make profit. But sometimes it's just the right thing to do. And I think it matters to a lot of people when they're spending that much money on one particular item, one product. You feel a lot better about getting behind it.
And is it difficult for a corporation the size of GMC to focus on a micro event like this, where it's a larger cause, but obviously the event in itself is something micro that you're doing to bring awareness to the cause?
It is. GM is in the middle of reinventing itself. We've moved the needle a lot. There's a long way to go yet. But if we keep doing the same things with traditional media, which is still important, it's still important to have the experts review our products and for you to read that and know what they liked and what they didn't. But boy, if you're going to really, pave a new path and try to get new customers and new change entrenched perceptions, grassroots and direct to consumer is a great way to go. So we're approaching it that, GMC stands for, their theme is never say never, and it's all about determination and perseverance. And boy, Mark and what he's doing embodies that perfectly. So that
Amen.
Wasn't a hard sell. And he's making such a huge difference. We're fortunate to have this area of grassroots PR, which we, have budget dollars allocated for. And we can get as creative as we want to with that. And this was actually, it was a tough sell in that we haven't done anything like this before, but it was easy because it's easy to get behind a cause like this.
Well, so let's talk about that. In terms of any business, and we have, a lot of folks here who are both, in small and medium-sized businesses, how do you get buy-off internally? And Mark, maybe you've had some experience in this as well, I'm sure, with talking with different corporations. But how do you get buy-off internally to a cause when the cause itself, doesn't have a business, quote unquote, ROI that's immediate? How do you get that buy-off in that conversation? Initially, and then later, every part of marketing, whether it's cause marketing or whether it's search marketing, whatever, has to compete for budget later on. How do you handle those conversations later?
I point to the results that Mark has been garnering. He's doing all the hard work. He's doing the heavy lifting. We just merely provided him a tool. The vehicle we gave him was enabled with Wi-Fi, and part of his idea that he won the Pepsi Refresh Challenge grant for was to teach homeless people how to use social media tools to better their situation, because it's tough to get a job when you don't have an address. You might have a shot at it if you have an email address, So he can use his vehicle as an office as he goes to stop at shelters, as he sees people under a bridge, one-on-one. So when I can point to results like that, plus the media blitz that he has done, it makes it a lot easier. And I understand what you're saying because, you know, homeless people don't buy vehicles, so there's not much ROI there. But we're really trying to humanize our brands through not just listening and discussion and engagement, but by being able to genuinely point to getting behind something like this. And like Mark says, it's all about the relationship. It's not that I handed him the keys and I said, good luck, fella, see you in a year. We've been staying in pretty close touch.
Mark?
Yeah, I'd like to say a couple. Well, first off, I'm a whole lot cheaper than a Super Bowl commercial.
He sure is.
You know? And again, it has to be just yesterday. And I received an email from an ad agency that wanted to do something, and it didn't help homelessness. From my end, it has to help homelessness. And I said no. I mean, I've turned down stuff all the time where it just doesn't help the cause, you know, which to me is ending homelessness, not maintaining homelessness, but ending homelessness. So that is my radar. But then it also has to be, and this I think is going to be the big change. I mean, one of the things that has driven cause marketing is the research with millennials. And, you know, the kids nowadays, we have 80 million kids that all have gone to high school and they've all had to volunteer. So they're more socially conscious, which is why Pepsi, you know, spent $250 million instead of doing a Super Bowl commercial and started doing the Pepsi grant thing. And that is kind of the foundation of how this is all shifting. You know, Connie's right. Homeless people do not have buying power as far as they're probably not going to go buy a new car right away. But when they get off the streets, we buy new cars. And when you put a homeless person in jail, it's $250 a day. If you know, getting them off the streets is actually the most cost effective. So you're saving money in the community. But I see the big shift changing in cause marketing is from the brand side. Do they really care? I got to tell you, GMC really cares, and right down to the dealer level. I was with Varney dealership today. They wouldn't let me go. They kept on wanting to wash the car and do a tune-up and do this. I'm like, oh, I gotta go. And they kept on wanting to do stuff. But they also really cared about the homeless cause, so much so that they, you know, gave a sizable donation. I've never seen that happen before. It was truly amazing. So the breakdown is it's going to be is, does the brand really care about the cause, or is it a marketing gimmick? If it's a marketing gimmick, it's never going to work. It really isn't. And again, we worked as a team. Literally, there was close to 200 media hits, many of them national. I mean, actual unique media hits is probably in the 150 range, but many of them got syndicated throughout Canada. Truly amazing. And that plays a whole lot of impact in what we were trying to do, which was change public policy to actually force the political structure to sign on to something that's going to change lives and save money.
You know, to add to the, you know, other end of the spectrum there, I mean, obviously the brands who participate in cause marketing, for them to be successful, have to really actually believe in the cause, because it's going to be apparent to the consumer. How about from the consumer perspective? There's a lot of things that are going on. There's a lot of different causes out there. They're doing outreach. You know, there's, you know, water outreach. There is, you know, outreach in terms of cancer, in terms of all these other, you know, causes that are out there. How do you deal with donor fatigue, where all these, whether or not the brand themselves believes in it or not, all these brands are moving toward cause marketing, and I'm sure at some point it's going to turn into donor fatigue, because where does the donor, you know, put their money forward to, and how do they know the brand is actually behind it? And then also these questions about asking over and over again. So
Yeah.
to both of you, how do you overcome and surpass donor fatigue?
Well, to me, donor fatigue. And there's a lot of people, great people. Charity Water, I support Charity Water. I love them. Red Cross. I mean, there's so many great people in my Twitter stream saying help, and you want to help them out, and it kind of does get overwhelming. To me, the ones that stand out are a good story. Going back to GMC, how they've had I was talking to the dealer today, how Buick has come and gotten to where the brand has really reinvented itself was by telling a new story, a better story, and a good story. That's the same for every business, every nonprofit. You stand through the clutter by being the best you can be. You know, it's Seth Godin 101, and you know, just I lost my train of thought. I've been on the road since June 15.
Connie?
You know, one of the things to me, I get slammed a lot for this is people say, well, you're selling out, you're working with brands. Oh my gosh, I'm after impact. I get, my biggest expense is hotels. Delta Hotels gave me a free hotel room throughout Canada this year. It was truly amazing. And if I didn't get that, then it comes out of program funds. That means the money has to be raised to cover that. You know, and those are important and questions that need to be answered when you go into, from the cause side, what it is you're going to be asking, how you're going to be asking, and always treat everybody with respect.
Connie?
The only thing I would add to that is going back to what Mark was saying about cutting through the clutter. All I can tell you is what he was doing and what I learned about Mark when I first met him so impacted me. And you know, I'm a person and I'm a consumer as well, and if it affects me, I trust that. And that's how I built my business case to bring to my leadership to say, I know we don't do this very often. I know we've turned down Motor Trend for a similar request, but look at his video. And if you haven't done that, if you haven't seen one of his super impactful videos on invisiblepeople.tv, you should take a look at that. And all he does is hand over, you know, the microphone to let someone tell their story, and it's such a agonizingly human thing to see and to witness. You just know that if you support something like this, you're doing the right thing.
And I think that witness, I think, is a key word there, because I think in any cause, bearing witness is really important. And I think
one of the things I learned this year, well, I've been doing it, I just wasn't really conscious of it, is that, you know, from the brand side, we have to be very real about social crisis in this country, in this world. We need to be real about it. I mean, there's some horrible stuff going on that we need to present as is, as, you know, not fluff it, not try to change it, present it to the people. But we have to do so with hope. We have to do so in such a way to say, we can solve it. And homelessness, one of the biggest paradigms I have to change in people is that we can solve it. We really can end homelessness because most people want to give up. So when you're telling your story, you need to be able to be real, but do it in hope. And in Invisible People, and it was Julian Smith who actually brought it to my attention, it's the 3 wishes at the end. Mm-hmm. You know, here you have people that are telling, just horrible situations sometimes. But you listen to their 3 wishes, and it ends the segment with hope.
So let's open it up to the audience, because Terry's giving me the almost time thing. We've got some questions, but I've got Liz quickly.
Liz?
Yeah, Liz? Mark, Liz would like to know what's the biggest change that's happened since Chicago in your life?
Oh, gosh. I had to drive from Los Angeles back to Los Angeles. That's a pretty big one. you know, each time I do these journeys, and it's a lot of work, I grow because there's huge impact and there's huge challenges. I'm still in the middle of this one, and I'm so exhausted. Today I asked a homeless man, I said, what is your 3 wishes? And I thought he said, I want more oysters. And I said, oysters? What are oysters got? He goes, I said wishes. And I'm like, oh gosh, I need a nap. You know, I will, I think I'll be being really real off the cuff is the love and the support. This year has the impact because the love and, you know, Liz, the love and support. Glenda cooked me pizza. That was a highlight. When I was going through Toronto, I stopped in and saw Glenda and her husband, and they're truly gorgeous. Those are the important parts of what I do, is those personal relationships. It keeps me charged, the thank yous. I don't make any money doing this. I mean, I am the biggest donor. If I get a gig speaking or if I get some consulting, I put it right back into Invisible People. I make $10 an hour working at a homeless shelter myself to pay my own bills. So what I get paid is when you all say thank you, and this is I'm getting a bonus.
Other questions?
After Mark had a break of some sort to get his strength back, is there any way that social media could participate in trying to get GMC to possibly extend the gift
Connie?
at a later time?
Well, let's repeat the question too.
Oh, the question was, after he's recharged his batteries and paid off his sleep debt, would GMC consider extending it? I've had that in my mind all along, and he's doing a fantastic job making that easy for me to go back to my leadership with.
Well, I figured
Mark.
I figured I'd have to drive back to that same parking spot you got me in Chicago last time.
That was a good one.
So wait, was there anything the social media could do to help out further?
I think just helping Mark raise awareness by retweeting him, commenting, all that good kind of stuff that you already know.
Hey, and I know Glenda's from Canada, and I know there's some other Canadians in the audience, and we love you. But are us Americans going to let the Canadians have the best part of this road trip? No. It was SOBCon that started it, so it's up to all of you to start getting the buzz going on this U.S. start that just started today.
We have another question over here.
I'm curious, from the GM perspective, what you're doing internally within GMC to talk about your efforts and collaboration.
Well, we have some.
Repeat the question.
Oh, what are we doing internally in GMC to talk about Mark? Again, he makes that real easy. He's just a media darling. He just sends me almost daily media hit, media hit, media hit. We were able to capture on video the actual moment of the handoff of the keys, which, by the way, was a surprise. That was fun. And just ever since then, I've been able to put together clips on a regular basis to send to my leadership, and he's doing all the work, and we're along literally for the ride.
Question over here.
I have a passenger seat.
Actually, I just want to say, as a Canadian, even though we started here and coming back here, I cannot tell you how thankful many of us are to have back here.
Oh, that's nice.
We had one of those Canadians who you were just teasing say that they were very thankful of how much awareness you've brought out there, Mark.
I'm so grateful. The Canadian people just embrace me. Just a little back end here. Before this relationship with GMC, the Canadian government actually invited me to go there. And, you know, here I am, just this guy with, I'm loud and pushy. I got an iPhone, Twitter, and a camera. And if a foreign country invites you, you go. I mean, it's pretty simple math. You know, Connie brought up a good point, and I think we, as causes, we miss this mark. Is there's certain things brands need from us, and one of it is the back end. You know, if you do get a media hit, you got to let them know. You've got to, because again, they've got to move it up the food chain inside the corporate structure so that you can get more support. You got to be very conscious of what a brand needs, and make it personal benefit. What it is that you can do to help them, because it's got to be a win-win.
Right. It needs to be mutual trust between you and the brand in order for this kind of model to work.
Yeah.
So on Twitter, Hardly Normal, Invisible TV, and This is GMC.
Perfect.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you both. Mark, we were just talking about, somebody had asked me what I thought the best example of or word that would describe leadership, and I said relentlessness. You think that might describe you, my friend?
Tenacity. I think, I've been kicked down a lot in life. And last 2 months of this road trip behind the scenes, there's been some nasty stuff going on. You just don't give up. Great men and women are ordinary men and women that do not quit. You can't quit. You just can't quit.
Thank you. And keep doing what you're doing.